Hello everyone, I'm Staffan Ehrenmalm, Chair of the Board of Trustees of the International School of Prague and a parent of 3 ISP alumni as well. As you know, the Board of Trustees is a strategic body. Our focus is on the future of the school, not only next year, but in the years to come. To that end, helping to create, understand and guide the strategic plan of the school is one of our main tasks. The school's current strategic plan, ISP2020, was approved by the board in 2016. At our most recent board meeting, the administration of the school, led by our director, Dr. Arnie Bieber, updated us on the progress of ISP2020. And Arnie and Teresa Belisle, our director of learning R&D, will do the same for you in the video that follows. A real strategic plan should not just be operational, allowing people to tick off boxes that they know full well they can and most likely will achieve. A real strategic plan should be aspirational and audacious. We feel that the goals of ISP 2020 are, for any school, ambitious, but we also know that as a community, we are best placed to achieve the goals that we have set out. As you'll see in the following presentation, we have achieved a lot of exciting things, but not unexpectedly, we are not there yet. But that's okay. The fact that we're on our way is already leagues ahead of many other schools. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for the confidence you continue to put in the school to educate our children. It is not misplaced, and I'm happy to introduce this strategic update from Dr. Bieber. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Arnie Bieber, Director of the International School of Prague.
And I am Teresa Belisle, the Director of Learning, Research and Development.
And we are here to update our community on what we call ISP 2020. It's our strategy that we've been working on over the past few years. Our major objective is to unleash our collective potential so that our school is greater than the sum of our parts. And the idea of strategy is so that we can look at the school and figure out how to move the school forward over a longer period of time, even though we focus on certain areas every year. Before we actually get into the ISP 2020 report, we wanted you to watch a short video from Graham Brown Martin, who is an educational thought leader. And many of the ideas that he will describe to you hopefully will be familiar to you and sound similar to what you've heard in the ISP Mission. So take a few minutes to listen to Graham Brown Martin, and as we're going through the presentation, see where you can find the connections to what he's saying and to what we're trying to achieve at ISP.
So I was really asking the audience to think about the purpose of school. Why do we send our kids to school? And when in any country, we have to ask the question what the purpose of our schooling is, because for hundreds of years we've sent our kids to school and don't really ask that question. And I think if you're thinking about the future of Croatia, for example, you need to have an idea of what that's going to be, and therefore what the purpose of your school is, because at the moment it appears that the purpose of school seems to be content transmission and testing, and that probably isn't going to output the kind of creative innovators that Croatia needs. There's a constant tension within the education systems, and this is a tension that isn't a new one. It's been going on, hundreds of years, in fact. And John Dewey in 1902 wrote a book called The Child and the Curriculum that had the same tension, the same argument about, is education about subject knowledge and content knowledge, or is it about self-realization of the child, learning for the fun of learning, as opposed to learning because you had to get through some tests. And that's been a constant tension, as it is today, and more so in a way because we're beginning to use technology in a way that reinforces the former, the idea that education is about mastery of content, of subject knowledge, and then regurgitating it at an examination. The reality, of course, is that we need both. I mean, we need to have some content knowledge, subject knowledge to do things, and what we're really interested in competencies. So here we're having an interview. The competence that we want of the person operating the camera is that they can operate a camera, not that they have a certificate in it or they've read the most books, because the winner of the Nobel Prize isn't the person that read the most books. It's about their competencies. So my point is rather than having an education system which has been industrialized around content and testing, why not have one that's based around solving problems, working together, collaborating? I mean, we talk about the future and the skills needed as creativity and collaboration and critical thinking, but nothing in our school systems or examination systems work towards that goal. So we have to decide which one that we want. To put it another way, when I've hired software engineers, and I've hired a lot of them, I'm more interested in their ability to code than whether they've got a PhD from a good university. The reason for traveling, and I traveled extensively, from rural India to refugee camps, so in active conflict zones, active crisis zones up mountains in China after an earthquake, and so forth, but also into some schools in San Diego, for example, in Lebanon, and so forth. And what I found in actually all of the schools that I visited, because it was selective, it was not quantitative research, it was qualitative research, was that the environment was important, the engagement between the teacher and the student was important. When I come back to the environment based around collaboration. I mean, at the moment, a lot of classrooms still look very much as they did 100 or more years ago, kids in rows and so forth, that don't really actively promote collaboration. So the environment was super important. And that was also reflected in the teacher engagement. Because I think we was beginning to see, certainly we're seeing from Silicon Valley organizations and so forth, there's a belief that teaching is just merely a content delivery system. I deliver the content to the student and then I test the student. And so we could get rid of the teacher or de-skill the teacher. But nothing could be further from the truth, of course, because teaching isn't simply about providing content. It's about understanding the individual. We're nurturing human beings. So I've seen great practice pretty much everywhere that I've been when I created the book. The problem, the challenge for all of these schools, all of these practitioners, all these great schools, and regardless of where they were, was they come up against the 19th century examination system, which really tests things that are less valuable. I mean, we as a result, we teach maths, for example, like it's a dead language. In fact, maths is really fun. I only discovered after I left school that maths is really fun, because maths is about discovery. It's not the way that we teach it at school because of the way we measure. So I've seen there's lots of good practice. I don't think you can scale good practice in the sense of if you've got a great school, you can measure it and then roll it out like a piece of software, because that's not how it works. It's a bit like your favorite restaurant that you go to. If there's an attempt to scale that restaurant, it would become McDonald's. And who wants their children to have the McDonald's of education? I mean, it's, maybe not as bad as some other forms of education, but still, the point remains the same. So I think that practice that I have seen, which is more project-based, de-siloed, so rather than having subjects, maths, physics, Spanish, etc., removing those silos and increasing the number of common areas and the way that students work together across age groups rather than being streamed by the year of manufacture, which just strikes me as bizarre. It doesn't happen anywhere else in any other part of the world, but in school, you're only with kids that the only thing you've got in common with them is they were born in the same year. This is crazy. I think.
So we hope that the video was illuminating, and hopefully you saw some of the connections we've talked about in the mission of the school to inspire, engage, and empower learners. And you will see, as we discuss the ISP 2020 strategies, a direct connection between what you heard from Graham Brown Martin and the mission of the school. And you'll see how we're continually trying to move the school forward. We have 5 strategies connected to ISP 2020. They are change, relevance, curiosity, coherence, and community. And so the way we do strategy at ISP is each year we look at these areas and then we focus with a strategic focus of work that will take place each year.
And all these strategies come together as we're trying to unleash our collective potential, which is really our main goal. These strategies are working towards that.
And so this year, these are our areas of strategic focus. Under change, our focus is on social action. Relevance, our focus is on feedback. Our strategy of curiosity is connected to professional growth model. Coherence, our focus is on well-being. And our strategy of community is connected to mentorship. And we're going to briefly describe each one of those so that you get a sense of the direction the school is moving in and the progress we've made against those strategies. Finally, as we look at the strategies, we have developed learning principles at ISP, and these are the impacts that we use, the way we look for evidence of impact against the different strategies.
And as you can see, our learning principles are really describing how learning best happens. And this is based on all the research about learning and what's the most effective. And these are in very approachable language so that even students can understand them. So we'll again unpack these, but please know that this is how we try to nurture learning here at ISP.
So our strategy of change is connected to social action, and the learning principle that we are looking for is that learners apply their learning in diverse and challenging contexts. And so in this case, we're looking for evidence connected to where students have taken social action and how they apply their learning in different contexts. So for example, one of the great successes this year is connected to Happy Caravan, which is a refugee school in Greece for Syrian refugee children. And we've made connections in a number of ways with teachers and with students, and we've seen the interconnection across ISP in this particular area.
And this is an exciting project because we can really use what we have here is a lot of knowledge and expertise to support the learning that they're trying to develop in the refugee camp. And this has been done through teachers going down to support, students going down to support, as well as we've brought up some of their educators and project managers to learn from us here at ISP. In addition, we're fundraising and helping them with some of the learning resources. This has been a very exciting first start, and we're looking at the next evolution of this next year. And equally as important is we've appointed service learning coordinators in each section of the school, and they have really taken time to say what's happening, how is it happening, and really to try to bring coherence and more focus in our social action across the school.
The next strategy, relevance, is connected to feedback. Learners know where they are as learners and how to go forward. And the main focus in the school among faculty has been on how to provide meaningful feedback to ISP learners at whatever level at the school they're working in.
And this is, as you know, probably from your professional life, giving effective feedback can be challenging. So really, what is the most efficient and targeted feedback that's really going to support that individual learner to move forward? And so not only we've been working on it across all sections of the school, but also working with students to become more aware of where am I, how do I know, and how do I seek good feedback from others. This will be continued work as we move forward, even though teachers, parents, students have all reported that they've actually improved. They've seen it improve, and they've seen the impact of the work that we've been doing on feedback. We look forward to continuing this journey further next year.
Our strategy of curiosity, learners' curiosity drive what and how they learn, is connected to a model that we've created at ISP for our professional staff, for our faculty, called PGM, or the Professional Growth Model. And the idea behind this is that we want to engage with teachers' curiosity in areas that they are directly connected to in working with students, asking questions about how they can try out new ideas and impact and positively impact a student learning.
So really the idea is our professionals are constantly learning and trying to figure out how to make the learning with their students even better. So they're really acting as researchers, action researchers in their classroom, and figuring out how can we go to the next step, how can we continue to maximize learning for each individual that's in my sphere of influence.
So the next strategy is coherence, and a big focus at ISP and many schools around the world is on well-being. The two impacts are learners feel a sense of safety and belonging, very much connected to the mission of the school, that we create a nurturing, safe environment for students, as well as that learners feel a sense of cognitive, social, emotional, and physical well-being. And so there are many different ways in which we are approaching the well-being, not only of students, but everyone involved in the ISP community.
And just to put this in context, a couple of years ago, we appointed a coordinator of well-being to really strategically move forward in this area, because we know without great well-being, there's not going to be great learning. And so you can see in the middle of this slide our model, which comes from Ontario, of the 4 parts of well-being, and we're tackling that in many ways, both the physical through physical activities, PE, etc. This year has been a big push more in the social-emotional realm, and we brought in expertise from the cultures of dignity. And Rosalind Wiseman, many of you might have heard at the Edge of Education, is how can we support in these very difficult times with digital demands and distractions and very over-connected world, and some of the things that we're seeing with students here at ISP and around the world, how can we work with their well-being within this new context, or the reality of our context?
And like many of these strategies in these areas of focus, obviously well-being is not a one-year project. It's quite a long one, but very, very important. And then finally, last but not least, is community. And the focus has been on the concept of mentorship. Where are we seeing ways in which older students, for example, are mentoring younger students? Where are we seeing students take leadership? Where are we seeing community members working with students and supporting their learning?
And as we know, the old adage goes, if you can teach it, you know it a lot better. And actually, there's good research behind that. And so having mentors teach one another is not only a good community effort, but it actually solidifies and deepens the learning for the learner. And so not only are we seeing learners apply their learning by going out and doing mentorship, but also really working hard and persisting and sticking with challenges that are relevant to them or to the learner they're working with.
So that was a very quick summation of the strategies we've been working on all year. As you can imagine, a lot of work behind what we've described here, as well as collection of evidence and understanding the kind of progress we've made. Should mention that Teresa and I did a lengthier presentation for the board so that the board was fully updated on the strategic work we've been doing. And as we said at the beginning, our major focus next year is going to be on unleashing our collective potential. And all of the areas of strategic focus that we develop, we are going to be sure to focus on unleashing our collective potential. How can parents get more involved? How do we really get students engaged with moving the school forward as well, obviously, as well as the professionals working at the school?
So please join us, consider any invitations we send out there, and just come forward with your ideas. Together we're going to be able to make a much greater impact.
And we need everyone to continue the ISP journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.